Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Vibe Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to make the straight bustier gown with funnel sleeve. At the down part of the skirt, you'll notice that there's lace placement from the knee down to the hem, and it also has a cape at the upper arm. For this bustier, I'm going to be showing us how to make a bustier with push-up effect that you don't need to wear a bra and your bustier will sit very well, give you that nice fullness and lift at the bust area. I hope this is what you're interested in learning. Please stay tuned while we get right into the tutorial. So these are the fabrics I'll be using. The lace for the illusion, and here is my Ankara that I'll be using for the bodies and then the skirt part also. So without wasting time, let's show us the measurements we need to achieve this style or this outfit. Here is our starting line, which is the shoulder line. Then the bust line, shoulder to bust point is 11 inches. Shoulder to under bust is 14.5 inches. Shoulder to half length is 17.5 inches. So, so now we have our lines. This is the shoulder line, the bust line, the under bust line, and then the waist line. So this line, all my markings will start from this side. So this is center front. So I'll go ahead and enter half of the shoulder measurement. Half of the shoulder measurement is 8 inches. At that point, I'll come down by 1 inch to create my shoulder slant. And then from the center front, I'll mark 3 inches to connect the shoulder slant. So having done that, I'll come down to mark the armhole measurement. So the armhole of my client is 8 inches. So here's my 8 inches here. So at this point, I'm going to reconfirm. At this point, I'm going to reconfirm my 8 inches that I have here. So I'll bring that same 8 inches here. This is to have a straight line. So you can see this is now the chest line here, which is also the armhole line. Having done this, next I'm going to do is to enter the nipple to nipple measurement of my client. Nipple to nipple is 4 inches. That's 8 inches. When you divide by 2, that's 4 inches. So I'll mark half of it and then half of it. So I'll go ahead and connect my lines like this. So having done that, I'm going to enter quarter of the bust measurement. And quarter of her bust measurement is 10 inches. Her bust is 40, so that's 10 inches. So to determine my dart intake on the under bust, determine the dart intake on the under bust is the difference between the bust and the under bust that will give me my dart intake. And her bust is 40, the under bust is 34. 34 divided by 4, that's 8.5, so that's 1.5. So I'm going to mark 1.5 on this side, and I'll mark the same 1.5 on this side. So you can see that my darts I'm taking here, I'm taking 1.5 inches on both sides. So I'm going to come to this point and still mark the same 1.5 on the waistline. So having done that, I'll just connect it this way. So with that being done, I'll bring in my armhole curve and then I'll connect to the bust line. And then also connect to the bust line. So this is what we have. And now I'll come to get the upper chest line because we need to tighten the upper chest. So the distance from the bust point to the under bust gives you the upper chest line, which is the same 3.5. So you can add half inch to it if you don't want to expose cleavage. But I'm going to be using the same 3.5 in this case. line. So I'm just going to label it UC. So this is the upper chest line. So I'll go ahead and enter the nipple to nipple measurement. That's half of it, which is also 4 inches here. So I'll bring this point like this up, and then I'll be doing a dart intake of half inch on both sides. I'll mark half inch on both sides, and then I'll use my ruler to connect it like this. So having done that, so now I want to create the yoke. So I want the depth of this yoke to be 8 inches. So first I'm going to mark the neckline. So the neckline I'm using a neckline of 3 by 3. So I'll mark the neck 3 by 3 here. So having marked the neckline, I want the depth of this yoke to be 8 inches from the shoulder line. Yeah, so here we are. So this is my 8 inches here. So before we do that, we'll go ahead and draw our armhole. So the armhole, I'll get the midpoint of the armhole, which is 8 inches. The midpoint is 4. I'll come in by 3/4 of an inch, and then connect it back here. So now I have the front armhole. So at this armhole area, I'm going to come down by 5 inches from this side, and then I'll curve it to meet these 8 inches here. So to bring it here, I'm going to do this. So you can see I stopped here. This is because I want to achieve a semi-sweetheart neckline. So by doing that, I'm just going to turn my curve this way. So this is, I don't want to have that perfect sweetheart neckline. This is a semi-sweetheart neckline. So I have my neckline. Now, this is for the yoke. This is for our yoke. So this line now will have to extend upwards. The dart intake here will have to extend upwards to this point. So once we have done that, so this dart now that I have here, I'll have to replace it back here. So everything I have here, my dart intake here is about 1¼ inch. So I'll come back here and replace that 1¼ inch. If you don't replace it back, by the time you are joining your pieces together, this is going to have a shortage. Remember, you're going to be sewing the yoke to it. So I'll have to extend this point now like this, and then draw my new armhole at this point. You can see this is what we have at the down part, and then this is what we have at the yoke side. So I'll go ahead and enter quarter of the bust measurement, then quarter of the under bust, then my dart here. Everything I have here is 3 inches. I'll go ahead and replace that 3 inches. So quarter of the waist measurement, 9 inches. What I have here, I have that of 3 inches. I'll replace that 3 inches, and then I'll go ahead and connect my lines like this. So this will be connected to this like this, and then it just blends this way. So this is what we have. So now we'll come here and mark our side dart, which is the difference between the front and the back, and in this case it is 1.5. So I'll bring that 1.5, I'll mark it to the bust point here. So this is what we have. So I'm going to cut out this point. So I'll show us how to do. I'm cutting out this point and then this point. So we'll cut out our pattern. So we'll cut out our pattern. So we'll go ahead and close our bust dart. Pick it this way. You pick the bust dart that's from this line here, and then place it on top of it this way, like this. So you can see that I have a shortage here. All I need to do now is to place another paper under and also tape it down. It's taped down already. So I'm just going to blend up my markings. You see? So I'll go ahead and cut it out like this. So now, so here we are. I have my pieces. And see what we will have by the time we join them together. Everything is matching up well. Okay. So to draft our back, I've drawn my starting line. This is the shoulder line, and this I have my zip allowance. It is 1 inch. My back length, the back length I'm using is 16 inches. So on this shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead and mark 3 inches. This is to indicate my markings are starting from here, 3 inches, and then I'll also mark half of the shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. Then I'll go ahead and come down by 1 inch to create my shoulder slant. So now we have our shoulder slant. Then we'll also mark the armhole. The armhole of my client is 8 inches. So having marked my 8 inches, I'll reconfirm the 8 inches I have here. This is to have a straight line. So you can see that where I marked at that point is not even correct. So this is just very important so that you have a straight line. So I have my 8 inches. So this is the chest line. Okay, so for your back, all we need is just the chest line and the waistline, which is the half length. And remember I said that the half length is 16 inches while the front is 17.5, so that's a difference of 1.5. So here I'm going to come here and get the midpoint of the armhole, come in by half of an inch, and then I'll connect it back to the shoulder tip like this. Then I'll draw the armhole. Okay, so I haven't drawn the armhole. On this chest line, I'm going to enter quarter of the bust measurement, which is 10 inches. So 10. Then on the waistline, I'll enter quarter of the waist measurement, which is 9 inches, 36 inches. So that's 9 inches plus 1 inch for that. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it this way. So I'll come here and just straighten out this line for me to mark my dart line. So on the waistline, I'll mark the nipple to nipple measurement, which is half of the nipple to nipple measurement is 4. So here is my 4 inches. I'll mark the same 4 inches here. Then I'll straighten out my line like this and go ahead and mark ½ inch on both sides. So now I have my dart length. So now I'll come here and mark the neckline using a neck depth of 1.5 at the back, and then of course a neck width of 3 inches like I used for the front. So here we are, done that. So now I want to create my back yoke. The back yoke is just going to be curved. So from this shoulder line, I'll come down by 7 inches. And then on the armhole area, I'll also come down by the same 5 inches I came down for the front. And then I'll create this curve like this. So this is going to serve as my yoke for the back. Okay, so that's it for the back. So at this center back, I'm going to be removing zipper bulge. So I'll come here to the zip allowance here and take out ½ inch. So once I take ½ inch out, I'm going to mark it all the way to the neckline here. So and see, so my neckline comes out this way. you see, up to the zipper line. So this bulge, I'll be cutting it out to eliminate zipper bulge. So that means the zip allowance now, to get back my 1 inch, can see that I'll have to go into my actual measurement. So do we say that? So now this is now the new zip allowance. So to be able to remove our zipper bulge, we are going into our actual measurement. So I'm going to get my scissors. So now I have my scissors. I'm going to be cutting out the zipper bulge. So here, let's cut our neckline first. So this will be cut out. So this is what we have. So for this part, I'm going to be having button loop. I'm going to be having button at this side. So I'll have this straight line. So my zipper will actually stop at this point. So, and then this part will just be a nice button there. I'm going to cut out the zip allowance at that side, because the zip will not get to this part of the yoke. So can you see? So this is our back yoke. So now we'll go ahead to cut out our skirt pattern. So for the down part, which is the skirt part, I folded my fabric over already. So you put into consideration the biggest part you're working with. That's the biggest measurement you're working with, which is the hip measurement. The hip measurement of my client is 44 inches. So 44 divided by 4, that's 11, plus my 2 inches for sewing allowance. So I need 13 inches here at the back for the down part. I have the waistline, I have the hip line, the knee line, and then the full length. The full length of my client is 62 inches. So to get the waistline, on this waistline, remember that we are going to be attaching this to a bustier. So I'm taking my measurement from the half length, which is the waistline. That's the upper waistline, which is the half length. So, and it is 17.5. So take note, I'm placing my tape on 17 inches because I need half inch for joining. So that is why I'm not placing on 17.5, but I'm placing on 17 inches. And our hip line is at 26.5, and then knee line is at 40. The full length of my client is 62 inches. So on the waist, I'm going to enter quarter of the waist measurement, which is 9 inches, plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. On the hip line, quarter of the hip measurement, 11, plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. And then whatever I have here determines what I'll be using on the knee line. So I'll be subtracting 1.5 or 2 inches from what I have here. But in this case, I'll be doing 1.5. So that's 13 minus 1.5. That will give me 11.5. So that same 11.5 is what I'll enter on the hemline. Our point. I'm just going to go ahead and connect our markings this way. So connecting to the hip line. So from hip to knee, like this. Then to the hem. So you can see I have my front skirt pattern. Then I'll come here to the waist, to the center front here. I'm going to be taking away 1 inch. This is to take care of the waist slope, and you don't want the waist to the front to gather around here. So I'm taking away 1 inch from there. So I'm just going to curve it and finish it up on before my sewing allowance. So can you see? So this is it. But now I'll go ahead and cut out. I'll be cutting out on this markings. I will cut out on the initial straight line so that when I place the back, after cutting out the back before I'll take out the waist sloper. Okay. So I've cut out my front piece of my skirt, and then you can see I've placed it over the back piece. You'll notice that at this point I have an extension here. So here I have my zip allowance, and I'm using 1.5 for my zip allowance. Remember on the pattern of our pattern, I marked, that's the upper back, I marked 1 inch for zip allowance. Of course, when I'm cutting out my fabric, I'll add half inch, which will be for turning the lining. So that is why I have 1.5 here, half inch will be for turning our lining, then I'll be left with my 1 inch for zip allowance. So without wasting time, I'm just going to transfer markings. This is the hip line, the knee line, the full length, and then of course this is the waistline. So now every other measurement is the same. You can see that's why I placed my front on it. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be adding 1 inch for that. Remember that when I was drafting the front, I didn't talk about that because the front of my skirt will be dartless. So I'll come here and add 1 inch. The back will have that. So I'm adding it here. So having done that, the next thing I'm going to come here to do, on this center back here, I'll take out half inch, just like I took out half inch for the upper back to eliminate zipper bulge. So now once I mark half inch here, I'll be left with 1 inch. So that would make me go into our actual measurement. I'll have be left with 1 inch here. So when we turn our lining with half inch, we'll be left with half inch. So to be able to fix our zipper on 1 inch, it will bring us into the actual measurement from here. So I'm just going to connect it like this. So you can see that my zip allowance is no longer straight. So on the knee line, I'm going to subtract 1 inch. I have 1.5 inches here. I'm going to be taking away 1 inch completely. This is for the bum illusion so that the butt has that nice butt rise. So this is 1 inch here. I'll do the same thing on the hem. I'll take away 1 inch completely. So I'll go ahead and connect it with my ruler. Can you see? So 1 inch has gone. So, and then I'll connect it to the hip line. So can you see that the hip is the part that is having that's coming out? It looks like a butt around that. So you can see how this part goes in. This is the place where the lap is. So, but I'll come here and replace that 1 inch I removed from there. If not, I won't have a zip allowance. Then remember that I just have half inch here. When I use half inch to turn my lining, so that means everything is gone. So I'll come back and replace that 1 inch here. So I'm transferring my 1 inch to this side. This is to give the butt the bum illusion or the butt rise around that side. So the hip or the bum bum of the person comes out well. So you can see I've replaced back my 1 inch here. So I'm just going to connect it back to the hip line. Remember, I didn't take anything from the hip line. So you can see I zeroized at this point, just the same way I zeroized at this side. So my 1 inch has been returned to this side. So here, I'm just going to connect to the dots that I marked here. So we have our back piece. I'll go ahead to cut it out. So I'll be padding my bustier. So you can see we have our two side pieces and the center piece. So all I need to do now, I'll place my pad. I'll come down by 1 inch from the starting point here. So I'll just use my chalk to mark it 1 inch from the starting point here, and then I'll place the pad over like this. So I'm just going to straighten out this side. So here, this is my 1 inch here. I'll just place it here, and then you can see that this point is the underbust point. So all I need to do is to trace out this shape that I have here. So you see I have this now. So this is the shape I want. So you can see this point that is the highest point. I'm going to enter half of the nipple to nipple plus 1 inch. So nipple to nipple is 4 plus 1 inch, so that's 5. So here is my 5 inches. I'll just curve it to meet it like this. You see, and then I'll take it back to this point. So I'll cut out the pad. So here is what our side piece looks like. So I'll need 2 of this, and this wording I'm using, it has gum on it. Excuse me, this wording I'm using has gum on it, so I'll need to place the shiny part facing the shiny part so that I can get the opposite side, since I have 2 pieces. So I'm going to cut it out. I'll cut out exactly the same thing. You pause now, since I said I'm cutting. So I have my two side pieces. So now to cut the center piece, I'm going to place my pad also, and I'll also come down by 1 inch from the starting point here. So I'll just fold over that 1 inch this way, so it makes it a lot easier. So you can see that here I have 1 inch here at this point, right? So this is where my 1 inch is. This is where my 1 inch is. So I'm going to trace out this shape up to the under bust point here. Then I'll come to this side and do the same thing. So once I've done that, I'm going to flip over. Remember that I'm stopping at the under bust point here. So I'm going to flip it over like this and then cut it out. So now, having done this, I'll fold it into two and trace out the exact shape I want. Just straighten out this side. So here, so you can see, placing it from the under bust point like this, and you see that is sticking out on the neckline here. So I'll come here to the neckline and then I'll just create that V shape. So you see, so now you can see that I have that space around the neckline. So for the under bust part, I'm not going to leave it straight. Our bust is not straight at the under bust part. You want it to have that curve that we have under our bust. I'll come here and go up at the center front here. I'll go up by 1 inch here and then slant it to the side. I'll just cut it out like this. Can you see? So this is the shape we have under our bust. So I'm going to place this on the wrong side of my fabric. That's, I'm placing the shiny part, which is going to be, that has the gum, on the wrong side of my fabric so that I can press it down. So I'll press it and it will stick to it. I'll do the same thing for the two side pieces, and then I'll show us the next thing to do. So I've gummed my part to the fabric. So now what we'll do is to take it to my sewing machine and sew. I'm going to be sewing it on 1/2 inch. Remember, I added 1/2 inch for joining my bustier. So you want to make sure that this under bust point where this part ended, they are meeting. It's very important. I'm going to sew it on 1/2 inch all the way to this point, and then I'll repeat the same thing for this side, 1/2 inch all the way to the neckline here. I'm going to repeat the exact same thing for my lining, then I'll come back and show us. Can you see? And then I ironed my seam lines opened. This is what it looks like. And you see how the bustier is sitting on the table. So when you take away 1.5 inches from, see, it's giving it that nice lift. But if you don't want it to give you this push-up nice lift like that, you can do 1 inch, 1 inch on both sides, and that will still be fine. But it will not be as pronounced as this. You can see that this without bra, the bust will sit, or the breast will sit very well in the cup. So now I have my yoke. I've also gone ahead to turn the yoke. I've sewn the net to it. You can see I turned the neckline. So this is the right side, and then this is the lining side. So what I'll do now, I'll go ahead and top stitch this side to hold my yokes together. And then I'll place it this way. So make sure that you push 1/2 inch. This is my seam allowance. I'm going to just push 1/2 inch into it this way. Now turn it, flip it this way like this. So once I do that, I'm going to notch this center. now. This is so that it can relax. So can you see? I'll notch the center and notch the yoke too. I'm going to pin like this. So I'll take this to my sewing machine and sew first to here. Can you see? This is one side now. You see what we have? And remember that this part is notched. So I'm going to sew on this 1/2 inch to this side. So this notch has a way of helping you. So it helps you to be able to flip your fabric to this side. Can you see what is happening? Because it is notched. So I'll sew from here to here, and then I'll repeat the same thing on this side. So you can see I've sewn my yoke. This is what I have. And you see what it looks like. Remember, it's a semi sweetheart that we cut. We didn't make the deep sweetheart, but you can see everything is flowing nicely. I've not even pressed it. So the notch is just the idea. Once you notch the center, it will be very easy for you. I need to fix my lining. I'll make sure to bring my yoke down like this. Just pin it to the bustier so that it just gives way. Don't want to make the mistake. If you skip this part, it's possible for your bustier to be entering this part. You don't want that kind of thing to happen. So now I'll place my lining facing the right side of the bustier, and then I'll pin it. Then I'll take this to my sewing machine and sew on the previous stitch. You can see that the lining is on the wrong side. I'll go ahead and sew it on the previous stitch that I used to join the yoke and the bustier together. Or you just sew an inch, that's 1/8 of an inch below. That's to just cover up the seam line, or you maintain that particular line. And then we'll attach it to our skirt, that's the lower part. I'll show us what we have. So I've sewn the skirt to the upper part. Can you see? This is what we have. And I've done the same thing for the back. I sewed my yoke in. And see, I placed it on the right side of the fabric, and then I used my lining to turn it over. So this is what the yoke looks like on the reverse side. That's on the wrong side. And this is what I have here. I've sewn my darts and they are all aligned. And I've also gone ahead to fix my zipper, is also aligned. So now we're going to go ahead and join our shoulders together. I'll join the shoulders together. So for the sleeve, let me show us our sleeve. So here is our sleeve. It's a funnel sleeve. You can see how the sleeve just flares out at the down part without me having to cut a flare to attach to it. I posted a detailed video on how to achieve this funnel sleeve, and it's up on my channel. I'll be dropping the link in the description box so that you can see how I created this sleeve. So let's continue with our cutting. Now the next thing I'll be cutting is that cape that will be attaching to the arm, that's to the upper arm area. So as you can see, I folded my fabric into two. The length I have here is about 7 inches. So next I'll do is to measure the upper round arm. So what I have here, including my sewing allowance, I have 8 inches, which is 16 inches when it is open because it's on fold. So you're going to make this cape sleeve longer than the actual measurement so that it drops a little. So there I have 8 inches, including my sewing allowance. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make this 9 inches. So just 1 inch longer. Of course, one on this side, one on the other side. That's 2 inches. And then this is where I have the folded part. I'm going to come here now and mark my 7 inches. So at this point here that is opened, I'm going to be marking 3.5. So that's half of what I have there at that point. So I'll use my pattern master to connect them like this. So I'm going to cut out this shape. I'll cut 2 of them. Cut out my 2 pieces. I'll see that I cut it out on fold. So this is what I'll be doing. I'm going to apply paper stay or hay stay to it. This is just to give the fabric strength. Okay, even though it's a good cotton fabric, I'm going to give it strength. I'll do the same thing on the other one, the second one. Then I'll join my shoulders, then go ahead to fix my sleeve. While before fixing the basic sleeve, I'm going to place this. Remember that this is like this. I'm going to come down by 1 inch from the start of the Ankara here and pin this. Just stitch it down and then fix my sleeve on this side. Then I'll flip it over to the other side like this. That's to the back side like this, and also come down by 1 inch. And you see what I have already? Let me show us before I go and fix it and come back. So can you see? Can you see? So my basic sleeve, that's the funnel sleeve, will be under it. So I'll do that and come back and show us while I must have coupled the outfit. So here is what we have. This is what our gown looks like. It came out really beautiful. You can see our funnel sleeve and the cape sleeve. You can see this is really beautiful. Let me show us the back. So this is what we have at the back. You see, of course, I had to pin it because my mannequin's waist is smaller than the my client's waist. So I'll be fixing my button at that point. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please kindly give me a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also put on your notification bell so that you get notified once I post a new video. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.